Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Samuel, and this is a story about how marriage can turn out differently than you expect. What happened in my marriage wasn't just painful, it was confusing, frustrating, and forced me to make a choice I never thought I'd make. If you've ever felt ignored, unappreciated, or like you were the only one fighting for a relationship, my experience will probably hit close to home. My wife, Amber, was everything I wanted in a woman, beautiful, confident, and full of life. When we first got married, it felt like I had won the jackpot. We were that couple who couldn't keep their hands off each other, always finding moments to be close, to touch, to laugh. Our intimacy wasn't just physical. We connected deeply. We could spend hours talking about everything and nothing, and at night, we'd fall asleep tangled in each other's arms. It felt perfect. But somewhere along the way, that fire started to die. She'd turn away from my kisses, say she was too tired, or brush off my touch like it was an inconvenience. I thought it was just stress or a phase, something all couples go through. But the weeks turned into months, and soon I couldn't remember the last time she had kissed me with real passion. I started keeping track, mentally noting every time she pulled away, every time I reached for her, and she turned cold. I tried to be patient. I backed off, gave her space, hoping she'd come to me when she was ready. But she never did. And the more I waited, the more distant she became. It was like sharing a home with a stranger, one who barely looked at me, let alone touched me. At some point, I stopped trying to reach for her at all, because I already knew how she'd react. I couldn't take it anymore. One evening, after another failed attempt to connect with her, I sat her down and told her we needed to talk. I laid it all out, how distant she had become, how much I missed her, how I felt like we were slipping away from each other. And then I suggested something I thought would help: therapy. Her reaction stunned me. She looked at me like I had just said the most ridiculous thing in the world and scoffed. "Which of our intimacy is declining?" she asked, her tone dismissive. I blinked, completely thrown off. Did she really not see what was happening? Was she pretending? Or did she genuinely believe that nothing had changed? She didn't give me time to answer. Instead, she waved a hand and said, "Intimacy isn't always about sex." And that was it. That was her entire response. Like that explained everything. I knew intimacy wasn't just about sex. I wasn't some hormone-driven teenager who only cared about that. But this wasn't just about physical touch. It was about closeness, about connection, about feeling like I was still wanted, still loved. And yet, she acted like I was being unreasonable for even bringing it up. That conversation ended the same way every difficult discussion between us did, with me feeling like I was talking to a wall, and Amber acting as if I was imagining problems that didn't exist. I wanted to believe that if I gave her time, she would eventually see what was happening between us. So, I did what I always did. I waited. I thought if I stayed patient, she would come back to me. But she never did. Instead, the distance between us became more obvious. She didn't seem affected by it at all. It was as if she had already made peace with our marriage, becoming nothing more than two people sharing a roof. And that's when the thought hit me. Was she getting what she needed from somewhere else? I hated that my mind even went there, but what else was I supposed to think? If she wasn't interested in me, then who was she interested in? Because people don't just stop wanting intimacy altogether. If she wasn't getting it from me, was she getting it from someone else? Our 5th wedding anniversary landed on a weekday. Not the most convenient timing, but I didn't care. I wanted to make it special. This anniversary felt like the perfect chance to turn things around. Since we both had work that day, I took care of everything in advance to surprise her. I hired professional decorators to transform our home into something beautiful: soft candle lighting, delicate rose petals, and elegant table settings. I didn't want it to feel forced or over the top, just warm and inviting, the way things used to be between us. I also arranged for a private chef to prepare a full-course meal. Amber always loved fine dining, so I made sure the menu was tailored to her tastes. The gift? I spent weeks thinking about it. I didn't want something generic or meaningless. I wanted something that would remind her of how much I paid attention, how much I still cared. In the end, I settled on a delicate bracelet engraved with a small, personal message, something only the two of us would understand. It was supposed to be a symbol of everything we'd been through, a reminder of the love we had built. But the most important part of the night was the bedroom. I had it set up to be intimate and comfortable with small, thoughtful details. Fresh sheets, dim lighting. I wanted it to feel right, natural, like we were simply falling back into something familiar. I imagined us sitting down for dinner, laughing, reminiscing about old times. Maybe we'd dance a little, share a drink, and if the moment felt right, we'd find our way back to each other. That was the goal. That was the hope. Amber finished work 3 hours before I did, so she would be the first to see everything. I expected a call, maybe an excited text, something to show she appreciated the effort. But my phone stayed silent. No message, no missed calls. I checked multiple times, telling myself that she was probably just freshening up, taking it all in. Any moment now, she'd text me. Any moment now, she'd say something. But the hours passed, and nothing came. Finally, as I was getting ready to leave work, my phone vibrated. I grabbed it quickly, a small smile forming as I unlocked the screen. This was it. This was the moment she'd tell me she was touched, that she couldn't wait for me to get home. Instead, I saw a single message staring back at me. What you did is fine in the bedroom, but I can't touch you, nor kiss you tonight. I hope you're not expecting anything. I read it twice, then a third time. That was it? After everything I had planned, after everything I had done to make this night special, this was her response? Not even a thank you, not even an acknowledgement of the effort. Just a flat-out rejection before I even walked through the door. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling something inside me snap. I had spent all this time, all this energy, trying to fix something that she clearly didn't even care about. This wasn't just about sex. This was about respect, about effort, about meeting each other halfway. And yet, once again, I was the only one trying. I wasn't about to beg. I wasn't about to send some long-winded text asking what was wrong or why she was acting this way. No, I was done being ignored, done being made to feel like a stranger in my own marriage. So, instead of replying, I made a decision that would change everything. A quick Google search led me to apps for booking escorts. I chose one with high ratings, downloaded it, and booked a woman who looked as attractive as my wife. We started chatting right away. I offered to pay extra if she was available that night. After some negotiation, she agreed, and I decided to pick her up myself. The drive to pick her up was quiet. When I arrived at the meeting point, she slid into the passenger seat, a woman in her mid-20s, well-dressed, confident. She smelled expensive. I didn't ask her name. I didn't need to know it. I kept my eyes on the road and said only what needed to be said. You only have to pay attention to me all night and ignore everything else. She glanced at me, a little confused, but nodded. She wasn't paid to ask questions. When we pulled up at the house, I immediately noticed that Amber had already eaten without me. The table, set for two, had only one used plate. Just another silent rejection. But at this point, I didn't care. Amber looked up from her spot on the couch as I walked in with the escort. Her eyes flickered with confusion and disbelief, but she didn't say a word. She just stared at us. The escort, on the other hand, hesitated, clearly realizing something was off. I didn't give them time to process it. I simply turned to the escort and said, "Don't mind her. She's just my roommate." That was the moment Amber snapped. "Where are you taking her?" she shouted, standing up so fast that her chair scraped loudly against the floor. I didn't answer. I didn't even look at her. Instead, I took the escort's hand and led her straight toward the bedroom. I could hear Amber's footsteps rushing behind me, the sharp sound of her voice growing louder. But I kept walking. "Samuel, where do you think you're going?" "Samuel, answer me." Her voice cracked, but I wasn't interested in whatever realization was finally dawning on her. I stepped into the bedroom with the escort and closed the door behind us, twisting the lock into place. The banging started immediately. "Open this door. Open it now." Fists pounded against the wood, over and over. I could hear her breathing hard. Was she regretting the way she had treated me? Or was she just mad that I had finally stopped begging for her attention? Either way, I really don't care. I turned to the escort, ignoring the banging at the door. Without a word, I led her to the bed, the soft glow of candlelight highlighting the effort I had originally put in for Amber. The room was warm, inviting, everything a romantic night should be. I focused on the woman in front of me, pushing every thought of my wife aside. The escort didn't disappoint. She picked up on the mood effortlessly, her touch smooth, her presence warm. As I let myself sink into the moment, I realized just how much I had been denied, how long I had craved this kind of connection without any explanation as to why it was taken from me. I woke up to the sound of Amber moving around in the house. The moment I stepped out of the bedroom, I saw her sitting stiffly on the couch, her arms crossed tightly, her eyes distant. I could tell she wanted to say something, but for the first time in a long time, she kept quiet. And honestly, that silence suited me just fine. I walked past her without a word. The escort was already up and waiting by the door. She looked at me, then at Amber, clearly uncomfortable, but I had already told her not to worry about my so-called wife. She left without another word. Amber didn't move, didn't react. From that moment on, the air in the house turned to ice. If Amber was distant before, she became a ghost after that night. She barely spoke, barely looked at me. And me? I stopped caring. Completely. I stayed out late, sometimes rolling in at 2 or 3 a.m., sometimes not coming home at all. If she was worried, she never showed it. If she was hurt, she never said a word. It was like we were in an unspoken war, both waiting for the other to make a move. I thought, surely, she would file for divorce. That was the next logical step, right? After what I had done, after the stunt I pulled, any woman would be rushing to pack her bags. But not Amber. She stayed. At first, I assumed she was just waiting for the right time, maybe talking to a lawyer, maybe preparing her exit strategy. But days turned into weeks, and nothing happened. No papers. No serious fights. Just this unbearable silence between us. It was worse than arguing. At least with arguing, there's emotion, passion, anger, something. But this was emptiness. A hollow, lifeless marriage where neither of us had the energy to pretend anymore. And the crazy thing? I didn't even care enough to fix it. I had already made peace with the idea that our marriage was done. If she wasn't going to leave, maybe I would. I came home late one night. I walked in, expecting the same silence, the same cold shoulder, the same routine. But that night was different. Amber was waiting for me. As soon as I stepped inside, she stood up from the couch, arms crossed. "Why do you want this marriage to die?" Her voice wasn't loud, but there was a weight to it, like she had been holding it in for too long. I laughed. Of all the things she could have said, that was what she chose. I dropped my keys on the table, took my time taking off my shoes, anything to delay the argument I knew was coming. Finally, I looked at her. "You think I want this marriage to die?" I repeated, shaking my head. "Amber, you killed it. I just stopped pretending it was still alive." She flinched. "You've been cold, detached, ungrateful," I continued, my voice steady, controlled. "You act like I'm just some guy you happen to live with. I tried. I waited. I gave you space. And you pushed me away every single time." She opened her mouth to deny it, or to throw the blame back at me, but I didn't give her the chance. "I'm tired, Amber. I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of waiting for you to act like my wife again. I'm tired of making room for your attitude while getting nothing in return. So if you want to leave, leave." I gestured toward the door. "You've already checked out emotionally. You might as well make it official." I expected her to explode, to yell at me, maybe even to storm off and grab a bag. But she didn't. She just stood there. And then, to my surprise, her expression shifted to hurt. "I don't want to leave," she said, quieter this time. I don't know how we got here." She took a breath, as if steadying herself, then said, "Maybe we should see a counselor, a therapist, something." Her voice wavered, but I could tell she meant it. I should have felt relieved. A few months ago, I would have jumped at that suggestion. But now I wasn't so sure. I had spent so long chasing her. And now that I had tasted freedom, I wasn't sure I wanted to go back. I looked at Amber, at this woman I had once adored, at this marriage I had once valued more than anything, and said nothing. For the first time, I genuinely asked myself, did I even want to save this? Or was it already too late? Now, I'm not here to pretend like I was the perfect husband or that I handled everything the right way. I'm going to be real with you. This situation brought out a side of me I never thought I had. But at the same time, I learned some hard lessons. And if sharing them can stop someone from making the same mistakes, then it's worth talking about. First, don't push your partner to the wall. If you're in a relationship and things aren't working, be honest about it. Talk. Communicate. But don't just shut your partner out and expect them to keep taking it forever. People have limits. When you keep ignoring their needs, when you make them feel unwanted, unloved, like they don't matter, you're playing a dangerous game. Because one day, that person will stop trying. And when they stop trying, they stop caring. And once that happens, you may not be able to fix it. Second, if you're tired of a relationship, don't use coldness as a weapon. If Amber had come to me and said, Samuel, I don't feel the same way anymore, or I need space to figure things out, or even, I don't think I want this marriage anymore, it would have been painful. But at least it would have been clear. Instead, she shut me out completely while expecting me to stay, waiting like a fool for something that was never coming. That kind of behavior only breeds resentment, and once resentment enters a marriage, it's like poison. It doesn't just hurt one person, it ruins both of you. Now, I won't sugarcoat my own actions. What I did was reckless. I know that. I didn't handle things in the best way, but you have to understand, I was pushed to my breaking point. A person can only beg for love and intimacy for so long before they decide they'd rather stop begging altogether. Some of you might say, I went too far. Some of you might say, Amber got exactly what she deserved. Either way, the truth is, this whole experience made me see marriage differently. It made me ask myself, when love dies, is it better to fight for it, or to let it go? That's the question I leave with you today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you have handled it differently? Would you have stayed and kept trying? Or would you have walked away? And don't forget, like and share this video. Someone out there might need to hear this.